AGOT is one of the most beloved total conversion mods in the Crusader Kings community, spanning as far back as Crusader Kings 2 and having a long history of entertaining people for basically years now. But as of right now, for Crusader Kings 3, the mod is still in its infancy, being in relative beta. So today I want to present you with a few submods that I personally use and love that can help enhance the experience and perhaps give you an experience closer to what I believe the developers of AGOT have in mind as they progress. But keep in mind this list will only include mods I actually use or have used in the past. Feel free though to include submods you enjoy down below for others to check out too, or maybe for me to try out myself. These are not in any particular order and will only include AGOT specific submods, not just submods for CK3 that work well with AGOT like the full screen barbershop, which I do consider essential, but I wouldn't really make sense to include here. But without further ado, let's just jump right into this. Many of you know this first mod as AGOT Cities and Walls, but it's actually called Cities of Wonders AGOT 3D. Now out of all the mods on this list, and I do love all of them, I may love this one just a little bit more, and I do consider it to be pretty much essential to any AGOT playthrough. Honestly, I hope the devs of this mod and AGOT just kind of fuse into one and work together because the work here is just frankly remarkable. AGOT Cities and Walls adds loads of flavor to the game by adding models for locations like Starfall or the Bloody Gate, and adds a mechanic to the wall where a wildling leader gets a very low percentage chance decision to find an object known as the Horn of Winter, which can then be used to actually destroy the wall and the castles along it with fully integrated animations and models, which is very, very cool. The mod also adds several restorable castles and ruins with special building upgrades, some of which are very expensive, but it's incredibly rewarding being able to say you rebuilt Castamere as House Rain or restored Harrenhal as House Strong or House whoever to its former glory. I'm using the mod in my current House Strong playthrough, and it's very, very rewarding and satisfying watching the castle come back from the dead. The mod also recently added the Stepstones as a playable area with the decision to create the Kingdom of the Stepstones, which is also just so neat to me and adds a unique start for people who maybe want to play in what is essentially contested territory outside of Westeros. Just an overall wonderful sub-mod that I think every AGOT player should use. The dev also has a Discord where they take suggestions and show progress updates on their mods, and you can find a link to that on the Steam download page. The second mod is Valyrian Steel. Have you ever considered making a custom house, or have you ever been playing as a supposedly powerful house only to wish or, crave those sick Damascus-looking Valyrian Steel weapons? Well, with this mod, not only do you get the opportunity to go on a dangerous mission to Old Valyria to recover an artifact for yourself, you could even come back with one of those swords, axes, maces, or whatever, and name it and give it background lore. How cool is that? Although I've only used the mod sparingly myself as the cost of the expedition is actually pretty high by AGOT standards, it's really interesting getting the chance to have your very own sword or weapon of your family, especially if it's a custom one. There's also the potential to get a dragon egg from your expeditions, although I'm told that attempting to hatch the egg has pretty dire consequences, but I mean, that's probably just a rumor, right? Our third mod here is Armies of Westeros, and I really, really love this mod, and I definitely consider this one to be essential alongside Cities and Walls. AGOT Armies of Westeros adds, as of right now, 39 different region and cultural specific men-at-arms units, each with their own unique art and counters, which adds a ton of much-needed flavor to the armies and wars of Westeros. The mod also adds regiments, which is basically a kind of additional troop to certain families or owners of certain castles like the Twins, the Dreadfort, or Winterfell, which further incentivizes playing around with those houses and regions, though the devs do plan to add many more regiments as the mod progresses too. I remember just after the Tours and Tournaments update for AGOT that this mod was out of date for a little while, and its absence was one of the few that I sorely noticed, as I find it essential to enhance the military experience of AGOT. Just a great way to increase the role-playing potential of your house, and the art assets for it are just really, really good. I love this mod. This fourth one is a feature that many people find the mod sorely lacking, and it's interesting because while it's very fun to mess around with this mod right now, I imagine the actual implementation of its feature, those being dragons, will be very different from what we see in the mod officially. But this is AGOT Dragons, and while we don't have dragons in base AGOT, this is what we got for now. And it is a fairly simple sub-mod which adds the option for Valyrian descended individuals, and that's important because you can't just do this as anybody, to travel to the Smoking Sea in order to bring back a dragon egg and potentially hatch a dragon. Just remember not to mix those eggs up with the Valyrian Steel mod ones, again, because it could bad things could happen. Now, dragons in the sub-mod are treated like artifacts rather than men-at-arms, which is an interesting but probably smart choice, and they can be used to assist in sieges and also for usurping thrones, which also makes a lot of sense. I think the AGOT devs were discussing making dragons maybe characters instead of men-at-arms too, so for those hoping to run around with a dragon troop, I don't know what to tell you. Even though at this point in the lore, dragons have been extinct, or so people thought, for a couple hundred years, I know some people are disappointed by the lack of dragons, so this is a great submod to get them in the game for those who want them, and for those who want to just burn Westeros to the ground, I guess. This fifth submod is a fairly small one, and it's Crowns of Westeros, which does exactly what it sounds like, and that's add more crowns into the game. Although most of these are for Targaryens and Blackfires, the mod author now has a co-author who has added some crowns for various characters and factions as well. Regardless of who they're for, though, the crowns added are beautiful, and a lot of love and attention to detail has gone into making the most out of these and making them as lore-friendly as possible. I really enjoy the option of changing your crown and making it look unique to your character, and I think this adds a lot of roleplay value, and even though the submod is small, it's one that permanently stays in my load order. This last submod adds a ton of flavor and enhancement, and I know I've used the word flavor a lot, but that's kind of what a lot of these are for. They're just to increase that role-playing experience. But this house adds a ton of enhancements to basically large minor houses, like House Royce of the Vale or House Manderley of the North, with things like their own unique legacy tracks, unique buildings, unique decisions, and in some cases even unique men-at-arms. The submod also adds its own unique bookmark with some flavor text and motivation for each of the 12 minor houses affected by the mod so far. I think this mod, personally I think this anyway, has the potential to be one of the best for AGOT, because you could really expand this feature to be pretty much every large minor house in the game, and I think it would just go a long way into making and giving people more incentive to playing as those houses, and I could really see this one being implemented in the mod proper, the AGOT mod proper in the future. As always, that's it for this one. I just wanted to make a quick little video showcasing some of the submods that I really use. I know some people are probably going to ask about AGOT Plus, which I do think is a good mod, but I think it uses a little too much of the TV show's assets, and I also don't really like the coat of arms changes. I do like AGOT as it is right now, and I have played with AGOT Plus, and I think it's a great mod. It's just not a mod that I use personally. There are other ones I know of, and if, again, you have one that you would recommend, please feel free to leave those below, because I always like to try out new mods. But as always, I'm Sol. This has been an AGOT video. If you like the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube junk, and I will happily see you in the next one.